Is a lack of perceived parental support or closeness disproportionately associated with more violent tendencies in students? So, research on children's psychological development emphasizes the importance of gentle parenting figures for children's emotional and psychological well being. The National Library of Health published research comparing harsh and warm parenting variables, uniquely predicting greater levels of violence in association with harsher parenting. This raises the question on children's direct perspective, specifically regarding closeness to their perceived parental relationship and the likelihood of committing a major violent act. This stems from the idea that the primary maternal role is to nurture and teach empathy by displaying regulated behaviors, and the paternal role is to be the subconscious teacher for their children in teaching independence as well as overcoming everyday obstacles. And so for the research questions, it's what is the perceived level of maternal closeness and student commitment of a major violent offense? And then what is the perceived level of paternal closeness and the student commitment of a general violent offense? The hypotheses are the null hypothesis, which is there's no relationship between majorly violent behavior and an increased commitment of violence in children, and then alternative hypothesis, children who report lower levels of maternal closeness will have a higher likelihood of committing a violent act. So for our sample, the Ad Health, a national longitudinal study of the adolescent health, asked 6,000 middle school and high school students a series of questions about health, family, interpersonal relationship, and lifestyle. Students were asked to rate their standing on randomly asked questions about their lives on a scale from 0 to 10, and the population in this study is meant to represent all the students, teenagers, during the 1990s and the early 2000s, which can also, some questions can still be related to 2026. So for the measures, we will be looking at students who were asked to describe the connection between their mother and their father figures on a scale of 9 to 10, or 0 to 9, 0 being non-existent or they're not close to their parents, or 9 being very close. Students were also asked to answer the amount of violent acts that they have committed in their time as students. These were major violent acts such as bringing a firearm or a knife to school, or it would be things like bullying, which would be a minorly violent act, or as well as school fighting. Now results for figure 1, the statistics: about 97% of students reported not committing any major violent crimes, and the distribution of major violent behavior heavily skewed towards 0. Only a small percentage have reported higher numbers, and the medium and interquartile range comes out to be 0, showing a lack of variability between the middle 50% of students. Regarding closeness, 68.2% of students felt close or very close to their mother figure, while 31.97% of students reported not close or somewhat close to their mother figure. The bivariate statistics is that the students who reported higher closenesses to their mother showed a higher rate of violence compared to less close students to mother relationships. This relationship is, however, weak, since the likelihood of committing violence was very, very weak to begin with. And as the average commitment of a major violent among students is, 0.074%. So the multivariate statistics is that even when taking a deeper look into the data, no strong correlation exists between the perceived closeness between child to parent and increased prevalence of a major violent behavior. Only parental closeness is high. The overall parental closeness is high in this sample. Now we see a very, very similar result for figure 2. The minor violent behavior most students were not committing in general. Students who reported being close to their father figure had a higher rate of minor violent behavior, 36.5%, compared to the students who reported not being close to their father figure, which was 21.2%. However, the majority of students in both groups were still not committing a minor violent act in general. So the discussion is the last part of this, and the results of the study suggest that parental closeness does not strongly predict violent behavior amongst adolescents, though some patterns are visible in the data for majorly violent acts. The vast majority of students reported no involvement, with a median interquartile range of 0, meaning very, very low prevalence. Students who reported feeling close to their mother showed a slightly higher rates of major violent behavior compared to those who were less close. The difference is, however, very, 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 very small, and its overall correlation is weak. This is also the case when minor violent behavior is examined. Students who reported higher paternal closeness also had a higher proportion of minor violent acts compared to students who were not close. Most students in both groups, however, still reported no violent behavior at all. These findings suggest that the effect of parental closeness is very, very small, and most adolescents do not engage in violent behavior regardless of their relationship with their parents. Conditional probabilities show that the being close to close to the parent does not guarantee higher or lower violent behavior, meaning that other factors might play a role in child's violent tendencies. One limitation of this study is that all of the data is self-reported, which can lead to underreporting of violent behavior or biased perception of parental closeness. Future research could incorporate observational or longitudinal measures and examine additional variables to better understand the development of adolescence.